Well, it has been a huge week in politics. As we know, Gladys is gone, our French ambassador is back, and Australia has reached its first major vaccination milestone towards freedom. To discuss, we're joined by Defence Minister Peter Dutton in Canberra and Deputy Opposition Leader Richard Marles in Geelong. Gentlemen, good morning.
Well, good morning.
Hey,
Ali. Richard.
Pete, you know what else is happening? Mark McGowan is fighting with Dominic Perrottet. Dominic Perrottet is fighting with Mark McGowan and the Prime Minister. Anastasia Palaszczuk is fighting with, well, kind of everyone. So well done on bringing the country together. National Cabinet is a dog's breakfast.
Well, Ali, you should run for politics. We could find you a seat somewhere, Richard or I. Stick your hand up and we'd welcome your input. I think if you look at what's happened around the world in terms of the tens of, literally hundreds of thousands of deaths that we've saved in our country, I think many people are very fortunate to be in our country during the course of the pandemic. People are sick to death of lockdown and want to get out. I understand that, and we're moving to that next phase. Vaccination rates need to lift to 80%, particularly in Queensland and WA. But we're getting to the other side of this, and we're going to have to live with it, and thinking that you can lock down and pretend like it's not going to come to Queensland or not going to come to Mackay or into Perth or Fremantle is a complete nonsense. So let's look at what New South Wales and Victoria is doing now. They're going to open up. People are going to reunite with their families and their friends in the run up to Christmas, and that is something that we should celebrate. And it's sausage making, as they say. You don't want to see it in action, but the end product's not too bad, Ali. So I think we've got a lot to be grateful for in our country. You
know what? It's just upsetting when you see everyone on all these different pages. But Richard, what I think all the premiers agree on, they are all cranky with the Prime Minister. They all want more money for their hospitals.
Well, I do think we need to hear from the Prime Minister. Well, firstly, what is the modelling that he's done about what will be the impact on our health system when we see states open up? And what's the plan? What is the national plan to provide support to the states in relation to this? I mean, yes, in the southeast corner of the country, we are absolutely living with COVID and we need to get vaccinated and then we need to open up. We're all very clear about that. But there is going to be a pressure placed upon our health system. We've seen the reporting today about how that's impacting Victoria right now. And we really do need to hear from the Prime Minister about what is his plan and is he going to bicker with the states or is he going to support them? And his job is to actually be the national leader and he's got to step up and do that.
OK, well, here's an idea, right? So Pete, you're Prime Minister, hypothetically, of course. How would you sort all of this out and get all the premiers and territory leaders on the same page?
Don't let Richard... Richard's trying to interrupt. Don't allow that, Ali.
He'll have his turn, don't worry.
It's a really good
turn's
question.
Coming, don't worry. I would look to what the Prime Minister is doing now, Ellie. I mean, all of the modelling that Richard talks about in terms of the hospital adequacy has all been done. The states have received huge amounts of additional funding from the Commonwealth to bolster their capacity within the hospital system. That has all been done. This planning has been in the pipeline for the last 2 years. Extra ventilators, additional capacity in terms of PPE, all of that funding. In my state of Queensland, we've increased funding by over 100% to the public hospital system just in the last few years. Queensland's increased it by 53%. So there's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of claims out there. Federal government's coming up to an election probably in the first half of next year.
Not
so
December,
states,
not December, Pete?
No.
Oh, come on.
Did
you not hear the Prime Minister yesterday? He was sounding very election-y.
Oh, well, I'm sticking to the lines, Ali. So it's the first half of next year. It's not going to be this year. He's been pretty clear about that. And all the Labor premiers are going to take an opportunity to have a swipe at us. I mean, that's plain to see, but it's not factually based. We want to provide support to the states, and there's a lot of good work that goes on behind the scenes, and frankly, a lot of posturing that goes on in public. So the funding has gone up, and I think the Prime Minister's done exactly the right thing.
So, Richard, you're not preparing for a December election, you guys?
Well, the answer is we are, because who knows what the Prime Minister will do. I mean, I think if he goes to an early election, it will be viewed very cynically by the Australian people. He's promised that it's going to be next year, and I think we would expect the government to serve its term and to go into next year. But, you know, if they are going to go in December, we'll be ready. And so, in that sense, we're absolutely making sure we've got our ducks lined up. But it would be seen very cynically if the Prime Minister called an election this year, particularly when he's made it very clear that that's not what was going to happen.
Hey, you know, Pete, calling an election, I mean, it is going to be very, very tricky when you've got all the states at different points, some about to open up. And, you know, Dominic Perrottet could really stuff it for you guys if he goes too early and gets it wrong.
Well, again, Ellie, I mean, the best experts in the world in the form of the Doherty Institute have worked with the premiers, worked with the chief ministers and the Prime Minister. All of the experts have put this plan together. And as we say, we're seeing people live with this overseas. You can't expect there to be a spike in cases for people who aren't vaccinated as society opens up and people move around and there's, you know, more activity at restaurants and people are visiting others' homes, etc. That's all in the planning, and the hospital response is part of that. But that's why it's incredibly important to get the vaccination rates up. They're up in New South Wales and Victoria and the ACT and in Tasmania, but they're not up in Queensland and Western Australia, and we need to encourage people to get vaccinated so that we can get back to normal. And then all sorts of activities happen, including elections. But if you think where New South Wales was 8 weeks ago and where they are now and as of next Monday, they're going through natural progressions. But our country will go broke and people, you know, will literally be beside themselves if we are in lockdown for another 3 or 6 or 9 or 12 months' time. If that's the plan in WA or Queensland, I just don't think people will accept that. We've got people stuck across the border, Queensland citizens, who the Premier is not allowing back into Queensland at the moment. It's cruel. It can't continue, and we need to get those people home. Yeah,
look, I think it was Dominic Perrottet was the hero for many yesterday when he announced those further freedoms, but he's going against the advice, or certainly not, a little bit further than the advice that his chief health officer has given. So see how that plays out, I guess. But the other big thing today, Pfizer for kids as young as 5, the US close to approving that. That could be November over there. Richard, would you be okay, kids as young as 5 getting the vaccine?
Well, I think we do need to be ready for that approval coming on board and making sure that that is an option for parents in this country. I mean, I have a child under 12, so that's the path I would walk if it was available to me. I mean, I think parents, there'll be a lot of parents who have kids under 12 who'll be looking at that. We obviously have a whole range of vaccines that we give our kids from really literally day one in their life. So, but I think what matters from the government is that it gets its skates on. It learns the lessons of its failure last year to not get in the queue of the various vaccine projects, and that if this is available in Australia, we get it if it's available in the world, I should say, we get it in a timely way in Australia.
And when we say timely, Pete, just quickly, you know, how soon could that be? If it's, say, approved in the US by November, could our kids be getting the vaccine, say, before they go back to school next year?
Well, I mean, it's not a political decision. Our country's got one of the most advanced health systems in the world, and we've got the TGA as part of that and all sorts of approval processes. They don't approve vaccines in this country without the most rigorous testing, and we should take heart from that. So I think always be guided by what the doctors and the scientists say, and if they approve it, then the government will act on that straight away. But it's a decision for the scientists. They shouldn't be rushed into it. We know that from all of the evidence so far, COVID hasn't had the impact on younger people that it has on older people or people with comorbidities. So that's the reality of the COVID disease.
Right now, you know that Karl and I often say that we think you two are two of the best-looking politicians in this country, right? I mean, we say it every day on the show.
I've heard you say that before.
With justification too.
I'm sure you've seen the Insta page, right? Hot Australian politicians. Well, I just want to show you, Pete.
I haven't.
This is you. This is you, Pete, looking like...
I could do that.
We've got the Melbourne barista vibe going on. And Richard, here's you. Check out...
Stunning.
Blue steel.
Oh, yeah.
That is...
Gents.
That is ridiculous. I mean, I appreciate the Photoshop. I've never had a jawline like that in my life. but I like Peter. That's a new vision of him. I mean, he looks like a Eurovision Nordic metal rock band guy.
I'll take all I can get, Richard. Thanks, mate. Thanks.